Welcome to our G4 project. For a G4 experiment, we wanted to test how exercise affects academics. After some preliminary research, we chose to test how 10 minutes of exercise at a consistent speed of 4.5 miles per hour and an inclination of 0.0 affects the amount of time it takes to complete a task. To maintain our controls throughout the experiment, we adjusted our diet to ensure that we were eating the same foods every single testing day. However, Brianna didn't need to make much of an adjustment to her diet, seeing as how she always eats the same thing. How many of you received an email that looks like this? Did you know that this color test is more formally known as a Stroop test, and that this Stroop test has been proven to test neurological response time? Essentially, our experiment tested whether exercise affects neurological response time, or can manipulate the Stroop effect. The Stroop effect is a natural delay in naming the ink color. This is caused by a need for the brain to forego its neural anatomy. Basically, once a person has learned to read, it becomes second nature, and performing the color test forces us to stop our subconscious in order to analyze color rather than read words. There are two different theories for the cause of the Stroop effect. The first is called speed of processing theory, which states that a person can read words faster than one can name colors. The second is called selective attention theory, which states that naming colors requires more attention than reading words. For our experiment, we ran 5 trials, all of which consisted of us performing 4 color tests. Color test 1 was performed prior to exercise. Color test 2 was performed directly after exercise. Color test 3 was performed 30 minutes after exercise, and color test 4 was performed 1 hour after exercise. Using these results, we calculated percent difference from color test 1 to color test 2, from color test 1 to color test 3, and from color test 1 to color test 4. We then used the calculated percent difference to identify any trends that showed a correlation between exercise and neurological response. Based on our results, no correlation was found between exercise and neurological response time 30 minutes or 1 hour after exercise. We did conclude, however, that directly after exercise, neurological response time improved and color test 2 was performed faster than color test 1. Previous studies have shown that optimal neurological response time is achieved when a heart rate is elevated to 115 beats per minute or above. Based on that fact, we recorded our heart rates at resting, 5 minutes into exercise, and 10 minutes into exercise. Based on our data, we also concluded that as heart rate increases, neurological response time decreases.
Hey, don't write yourself off yet. It's only in your head you feel left out.
There are many different reasons for the correlation between exercise and neurological response time. Exercise increases breathing rate and heart rate so that more blood flows to the brain, increasing the supply of oxygen and glucose. This new influx of oxygen and glucose reduces the response time necessary to complete a color test. Improvements in the experiment can always be made. To ensure more precise and accurate conclusions the next time this experiment is conducted, an EEG, also known as an encephalogram, should be used to track brainwaves, as was done in another experiment instead of color tests. Although we found it ineffective to record the heart rate at 5 minutes in exercise, it would be beneficial to record the heart rate both 30 minutes and 1 hour after exercise and compare it to the percent difference data. By doing so, an analysis of the relationship between heart rate and brain function 30 minutes and an hour after exercise could be drawn, whereas in this lab, the only analysis drawn was the relationship between heart rate and the percent difference of color test 1 and color test 2. More conclusive results could also have been obtained by expanding the participant pool in such areas as age, gender, race, and body types, as well as trained athletes versus non-trained athletes. Although this experiment was conducted on 2 female high school students around the ages of 15 and 16, it is expected that similar results would have appeared in a wider range of school participants. A more definite conclusion could also be drawn if there had been more trials, and therefore more data. If more trials are conducted, it may be possible to prove that exercise affects neurological response time 30 minutes and an hour after exercise. Also, alternative machinery, such as portable heart rate monitors, could have been used over the built-in heart rate monitors on the treadmill.
This type of research is useful in the sense that if a correlation is in fact found between exercise and neurological response time, society would be provided with a solution to bettering test scores and brain function. How many parents would be enrolling their children in dance or football if they were told it would make them smarter? If further studies are conducted that indeed prove exercise has long-term positive effects on neurological response time, and society then chooses to implement exercise into their daily routines to improve their brain function, both the lifestyles and the test scores of Americans would be altered for the better. This type of research should also continue, even if only to gain better understanding of how the brain functions and how its function can be improved.
I've just seen her face, I can't forget the time or place where we just met. She's just a girl for me and I want all the world to see we've met. I'd have been another day.